Coming up on Lawmakers. Governor Sonny Perdue says petty partisan politics is holding up child endangerment legislation. A new idea to maintain the Hope Scholarship is introduced by Senator Ed Harbison. And the American Heart Association comes to the Capitol to raise awareness of the dangers of heart disease for women. Those stories and more are coming up next.
From Atlanta, this is Lawmakers for Friday, February 6th. Here are your hosts, Gerald Bryant and Nwandi Lawson.
Good evening, everyone. Also on tonight's broadcast, comments made during the morning devotional in the House caused some controversy.
And a new public opinion poll shows commuters who use Georgia's 316 think the proposed tolls are too high. But our top story tonight, the progress of child endangerment legislation.
Governor Sonny Perdue says Georgia's children are being put in danger by politics. The governor accused House Judiciary Chairman Tom Bordeaux of playing politics with child endangerment legislation.
I'm certainly disappointed with the political games that have gone on in House Judiciary, and I think, again, the public needs to speak up. This is something that I intend to see pass this year to protect our children. The fact of the matter that you have a chairman over there that's playing petty partisan politics, he was chairman long before I became governor, and this issue has not passed in over 4 years, and it's time that it happened. We put a good bill on the table, and the House engrossed it. This chairman wants to pick that apart for his own partisan political purposes, and I don't think we ought to let him. We are moving this bill in the Senate. He's going to get another opportunity. The Speaker and I will have an opportunity to talk about this. This is nothing more than playing politics with the lives of children, and it's despicable in my opinion.
Representative Bordeaux would not appear on camera. He did say, "I don't know why he's doing this. The bill is in the Senate. I have no comment." The governor's child endangerment bill started in the House, but now is being introduced in the Senate. On another matter, the governor expressed disappointment at House Democrats who are balking at education bills that delay implementing smaller class sizes.
I'm disappointed that House Democrats have already sent the signal that they want to be obstructionist in the education process without even hearing the issue. Now, I don't think that's the way this process should work up here, and I'm calling upon parents and students and teachers and educators to let them know how they feel. This is a public process, and when people dig in their heels without even hearing the facts, that's irresponsible.
And Governor Perdue says those who want to avoid making hard decisions about cuts to the Hope Scholarship program are strangling the golden goose. The governor has responded to reports of increasing lottery revenues and speculations that could result in no cuts to Hope.
Well, it's sad when people want to take an irresponsible route. While lottery revenues are up, as they have been in preceding years, they're up about projections about $25 million this year. The bad news is that our needs are going to be up over $100 million or more. The lines cross. The income stream from the lottery, even as successful as it is, even with it continuing to grow, is not growing at the same pace as our needs for hope. It's prudent to take preventive measures and let these measures be communicated to our student population ahead of time rather than strangling the golden goose that's laid the golden egg here.
Governor Perdue and the Hope Commission have recommended cutting student fees and books from the Hope Scholarship.
Meanwhile, Senator Ed Harbison says those proposed cuts would be the hardest for low-income Hope recipients. The Columbus Democrat has introduced a bill that would save money by imposing a family income cap on Hope recipients.
If the income for the lottery goes down, we impose caps. And whenever those incomes are going back up again, is that they can take them off. That gives them the flexibility to deal with it and to make sure that we don't get a situation where the program itself is in danger. Now, the figures I use in that are simply arbitrary. We can put in any figures that would make sense to the commission, and I'm willing to be flexible in that regard, because the way we did it initially, if you recall, we put the cap on at $66,000. Then it went up to $100,000. Then we removed it altogether, and I think that makes sense.
The Hope Commission nor the governor have expressed any interest in family income caps. Do you think the legislation has a decent chance of seeing the light of day in the Senate?
Yes, I really do. I think actually it is a vehicle whereby we can express ourselves in various areas as it relates to even coming up with a B average for every student in the state. I think we can tack that onto that piece of legislation. I think it's a good vehicle that we can utilize to give a common sense kind of approach to it. And there's even debate of whether or not we're really in danger of losing the Hope Scholarship.
Well, I think that's an idea that can be debated among with the other issues. That's one way to address the issue. I think it's up to the General Assembly to look at that. That came up, I think, in the discussion of the legislative hearings this summer. It was not accepted and was not part of their package. I don't favor that, but I'm certainly willing to engage in discussion and debate on that issue.
Senator Harbison's bill was introduced this week and will probably be assigned to the Senate Higher Education Committee.
A Senate resolution banning gay marriage got an airing in the House today. The preacher of the day encouraged lawmakers to pass Senate Resolution 595, prompting the General Assembly's only openly gay member, Representative Karla Drenner, to fire back. First, Reverend Richard Walker.
From time to time, you're called upon to issue rulings, make decisions that relate to the moral fabric of our society. As I watch the news and keep abreast with what's going on around our nation, I know perhaps even very soon you're going to be called upon to make a decision on what constitutes marriage, whether it's between one man and one woman only for life as God would bring them together, or whether you choose to open Pandora's box and allow anything to go.
This is my 6th session, and the messages have always been uplifting, and you walk away feeling like, you know, God is on your side, and we're here to represent all God's people. And over the last 2 weeks, the messages have shifted dramatically. They've become moral issues, a call to action from what I consider to be a bully pulpit, a place of honor, you know, that we are giving the right of a minister to come down to address us all, and the messages recently have been about social issues instead of about God loves all of us.
Representative Drenner says she's calling on House Speaker Terry Coleman to screen future sermons.
In other news, Governor Sonny Perdue and legislators wear the color red to show their support for the fight against heart disease among women. Chrissy Thrasher has more on Go Red for Women Day. Chrissy.
Well, Gerald, the American Heart Association says that 1 in 2.4 women are diagnosed with heart disease. They say it's time to increase awareness about this potentially deadly disease.
It's Go Red for Women Day at the Capitol. Many people are wearing the color to show their support for raising awareness against cardiovascular disease among women.
I don't think there's one woman on the Senate floor this morning that does not have on red.
Studies show that cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death among women.
More women die than the next of heart disease than the next 7 causes of death combined, including breast cancer.
Close to 40% of women are affected by cardiovascular disease, and the real shame of it is many of them don't know it.
While some women catch the disease before it's too late,
I am a survivor. I've had a triple bypass surgery in April of 2001.
Others are not as fortunate. And to show his support for the fight against heart disease, Governor Perdue signed a proclamation declaring February 6, 2004, Go Red for Women Day.
It's all about raising the level of awareness, trying to get women to go see their doctors and get screened for blood pressure and cholesterol and things like that. So, yeah, once you find out you've got an issue, then you can, go to the medical professionals and have it dealt with.
And doctors say the risk for heart disease increases in women in their mid to late 50s. The American Heart Association urged people to maintain a healthy diet and exercise several times a week. Reporting for Lawmakers, I'm Chrissy Thrasher.
Chrissy, remind us what the symptoms of heart disease is.
Well, doctors say signs include shortness of breath, chest pain, and early fatigue.
Thank you very much, Chrissy.
Well, the House today paved the way for magistrate court judges to receive retirement benefits in a manner comparable to other county employees. Some questioned whether this would award some judges 2 or more pensions.
If a county provides retirement for the magistrate court judges, can they roll over their retirement into this fund?
Not roll it over, but this can supplement that retirement fund. In other words, the question you asked me in the past is, can they belong to 2 retirement funds? The answer would be yes.
So they'll have 2 retirement funds?
Just as the sheriff and just the probate court judge and just as the tax commissioner and the clerk of the court.
House Bill 618 was approved by a vote of 99 to 1. It now moves to the Senate. Also today, a repeal of the law granting prison wardens the use of a state car earned Representative Bobby Franklin some good-natured ribbing before it was passed. Representative Franklin is known for casting the only dissenting vote on many issues. Representative Gerald Green explains House Bill 340.
House Bill 340 is a bill that takes care of a provision which provided the Department of Public Safety furnish a passenger motor vehicle for official use of the warden at the Georgia State Prison. We don't do it anymore. It was first started in 1937, and we needed a piece of legislation to take it off the books. This is a department bill, something that they wanted done, and I ask that you vote for House Bill 340 this morning. And I'll bet you Representative Bobby Franklin will vote for this too. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I yield the will.
And that measure was approved without a single opposing vote. It now goes to the Senate. And by a vote of 92 to 3, the House agreed to extend ad valorem tax exemption to Southern Legislative Conference members. House Bill 794 now moves to the Senate.
And the Senate today passed a greenhouse gas emissions bill. Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide and methane. Sequestering of carbon means that healthy trees can remove carbon from the air. That's actually become a business, and Senator Michael Meyer von Bremen says there's a need for monitoring that. Senator Joey Brush disagreed.
It will be beneficial to our farmers. It's beneficial to industry. It is a method of allowing industry to offset any emissions in the environment through carbon credits. The carbon credits do not have a method of being registered in the state of Georgia, and this bill merely creates that registry that inventories and tracks the amount of carbon that is stored in trees and in crops and in other sources in our state. It's good all the way across from the agriculture all the way to the industries.
The farmers better look out at free gifts. There's no such thing. This is where we're headed in there. I remind you, typically, on the page, the stuff I passed out, when you talk about carbon sequestration, you remember a couple of things. One, we don't even know that it's harmful to the environment at this point. In fact, there's a lot of science out there that said it would help the crops in agriculture, the higher CO2 levels. So we're not even sure about that. Secondly, what we do know is state by state is not going to have any effect at all. The air doesn't know the borders of Georgia.
Senate Bill 356 passed by a vote of 45 in favor, 2 against. It goes to the House.
Last year, lawmakers voted to allow private contractors to make partial bids for public roadway projects. Tolls would likely be implemented in such cases, and the first could be on Georgia's Highway 316. Lawmakers Jesse Freeman has more. Jesse.
Well, thank you, Nwandi. The Georgia Department of Transportation is now taking bids to make repairs on Highway 316. To fund those repairs, a toll will likely be imposed on drivers that could be as high as $4.68. House member Bob Smith represents parts of Madison, Clark, and Oconee counties, and he polled his constituents about their feelings on the possible toll.
We found out in the poll that of those that knew about the poll, 71% said that they thought it was unreasonable, that 10 to 12 cents or $4.68 one way for the length of the highway. So we were obviously concerned. 25% of those people said that they wouldn't pay anything.
Now, Representative Smith says he and his constituents want to see the highway improved as quickly as possible, and they don't necessarily have a problem with a lesser toll. He also says he will make his voice heard, but the final decision lies in the hands of the DOT board.
It would be down to the 13-member DOT board members with the recommendation of the DOT commissioner. But in order for the DOT board member to approve of it or vote yea or nay, he's going to hear from folks back home, and he's certainly going to hear from us and our district.
Now, those voters affected by the roadway project still have a chance to speak out. There's no definite toll plan in effect yet, and bids will be taken for at least 90 days. Reporting for Lawmakers, I'm Jesse Freeman.
Thanks, Jesse.
Meanwhile, Senate Bill 436 creates the Agricultural Water Conservation Incentive Program. The aim is to encourage farmers to enhance water quality and conserve water. Here's Senator Tommy Williams.
What I discovered in my district is that there were a number of farmers who could not drill wells because of moratoriums on well drilling, and yet they needed water and didn't have the revenue to construct lakes and were prohibited from drilling water. So there was really no way to expand their farming operations or even to maximize their production with irrigation.
Senator John Bullock wanted to amend the bill to exempt farmers from public disclosure of how much water they use. That brought some questions. Here's an exchange between Senator Bullock and Senator David Edelman.
The only reason we want to know this data is so that we can look and see how much water is being withdrawn by river basin and by aquifer.
Senator, further yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, can you, and I don't know, this is intended to be a very open-ended question. What would be the harm to the public if the data from meters on a farm were to be subject to an Open Records Act request?
There's no harm at all. It's just that we as in agriculture and us old dirt farmers are a little bit curious about folks knowing our business. It'd be kind of like me wanting to know what the bottom line was on your income tax return. That's your business.
Senator, further yield.
Yes, sir, I do.
Senator, you would agree that the data from a meter on a well is a little different from someone's income tax returns?
Yes, sir, I sure do. And I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I tell you what, I know how to cut every now and then.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Bullock's amendment passed, so did Senate Bill 436. The vote was 51-1. It goes to the House. And if you depend on a golf cart for more than transportation from tee to green, you got some good news from the state Senate today.
Maybe y'all remember what happened in Peachtree City this last year, that there was an incident where someone was driving a golf cart, did not have a valid driver's license, and then they went through the court, and the court did rule that you have to have a valid driver's license to even operate a golf cart, even crossing a state road or a city road. This piece of legislation just allows the opportunity for the people in a golf cart community throughout our state to be able to utilize those golf carts at designated crossings without having to have a valid driver's license, but subject to the local ordinances of that municipality. It gives local control to the cities to designate those areas where the golf carts can be able to drive, so that in Peachtree City we have many senior citizens who do not have a driver's license, and they depend upon a golf cart to do their shopping, to go to the doctor, and things like that.
House Bill 1063, the motorized cart bill, passed the Senate 49-1 and goes to Governor Perdue.
Should undocumented workers get driver's licenses? Who can permit a minor to have an abortion? And will Sandy Springs become an incorporated city? These are some of the issues the legislature is tackling as we take a look back at the week under the Gold Dome. On Monday, the Senate passed Senate Resolution 580, a proposed constitutional amendment to fund education with local sales taxes. The sponsor says this will lower property taxes.
75% of that ESPLOS could be utilized for school construction, and 25% could be used for M&O, maintenance and operation, with a dollar-for-dollar rollback against property taxes.
The Senate Special Judiciary Committee moved to ensure that only a parent or guardian can permit a minor to get an abortion. Senate Bill 240 eliminates the in loco parentis provision, allowing another adult, like an older boyfriend, to stand in.
We don't need for some guy that is responsible for the act to be standing in for as her parent.
And supporters of driver's licenses for illegal immigrants rallied at the Capitol in support of legislation sponsored by Representative Barbara Mobley and Senator Sam Zamarripa. Tuesday, the Senate debated for more than 5 hours before passing two of Governor Sonny Perdue's education bills. Senate Bill 428 includes the suspension of driver's licenses as a penalty for chronic truancy and delinquency. And Senate Bill 429 changes the way schools are ranked by the state from a letter grade to a percentage. And the Service Employees International Union announced plans to draft legislation setting mandatory case limits for child welfare workers. Wednesday was a committee day at the Capitol. The House Banks and Banking Committee passed a bill to restrict payday loan companies, but not without some opposition.
What this is all about is putting one segment of a loan industry out of business so that another segment who has more of the political power can benefit. Period. End of story. There's nothing to do with consumers in here.
Thursday, the Senate Higher Education Committee and the Lieutenant Governor looked at higher Georgia lottery revenue projections to determine whether the increase will cover a larger number of college students receiving Hope scholarships. Governor Perdue announced plans to stimulate economic development and increase tourism dollars. House Republicans encouraged the Senate to move swiftly to pass a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage. Sandy Springs moved a step closer to becoming a city with the passage of Senate Bill 49. The American Resistance Organization rallied against proposals that would allow undocumented workers to get driver's licenses and other benefits.
A license allows us to get a hotel room, open a bank account, board an airplane.
And State School Superintendent Kathy Cox recanted her proposition that the word evolution be removed from the state science curriculum.
Not what happens in a modern biology.
Meanwhile, the Legislative Sports Caucus played their annual All-Star basketball game last night at Georgia State University Sports Complex. The event is put on by the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce to promote sporting events. This year, the Legislative All-Stars faced up against retired NFL players. Lawmakers Jesse Freeman has all the high-flying action.
After 2 years of embarrassment at the hands of the Harlem Globetrotters, Sports Caucus Chair Stan Watson formed a study committee to find a team his guys could beat. He came up with a group of retired NFL players in the area who were respectable enough, but also, he hoped, a little worse for the wear. Then he got the leanest, meanest lawmakers in the land poised for victory. But at the opening tip-off, reality set in. By halftime, the legislators trailed by 10. Ever resilient, they maintained confidence.
Because they got a little age, a little size, so we hope that our fine conditioning of our mental faculties during the session will help us overcome in the second half.
But the NFL players promised no mercy.
If they get a chance to put the thumb on us, there won't be any mercy. But we're going to have to keep our game up together and keep it on them. We can't let them back in this game. I hope they do better over in the state capitol building than they do over here. Because if not, we'd be in big trouble.
Representative Ron Forster led the attack in the second half. He dropped in a few threes, but dropped off a few more. And his teammates were little help. The legislators set a new team record by breaking the 30-point barrier, but in the end, even the mercy of the NFL All-Stars wasn't enough. Reporting for Lawmakers, I'm Jesse Freeman.
Well, electronic voting was introduced to Georgia in 2002, but some Georgians feel punch card ballots are safer and more accurate. Angelina Washington has more on the skepticism about touchscreen voting.
The Voters Independence Project has held town hall meetings and press conferences to bring attention to their concerns about electronic voting machines. After the 2000 election controversy in Florida, Georgia was the first state in the nation to use touchscreen machines in a statewide election in 2002. While many Georgians are comfortable voting electronically, others feel that the touchscreen machines can be manipulated.
If our votes are not sacred to our election department, then something has to be done about it.
So this idea that we are somehow safe because now the whole thing is being handled by the computer is a grave misunderstanding of what the situation is.
Secretary of State Kathy Cox brought electronic voting to the state and continues to express confidence in the system. Press Secretary for the Secretary of State, Chris Riegel, explained the public's confidence in the election system is high.
So the vast majority of Georgians are very satisfied with it, but that doesn't mean that we need to rest. We need to continue to improve the system.
The electronic voting system will be used in the presidential preference primary in March. I'm Angelina Washington, reporting for Lawmakers.
Well, when you think of interns at the Capitol, you may think of young people who run errands, but lawmaker Karla Francis has a different story.
When Whitney Seltzer applied for an internship, she thought that she would just serve coffee.
I've been pleasantly surprised with the internship because oftentimes interns are coffee getters and copy makers, and that's the extent of the experience, and that's not been the case here.
Many interns are political science majors, but Campbell Kerbow's major is different.
I just recently graduated. I was an ag business major, which really doesn't fit in.
All interns come from various Georgia universities.
Students that are interested in a program can apply by a number of ways. We have a website that the students can go to and apply, or they can contact their college campus career centers.
Legislative interns must go through a different procedure.
The students are selected to be in the internship program. They apply through their university, through the political science department.
Allison Sand is busy as an intern for Senate President Pro Tem Eric Johnson.
In the mornings, I try to check committee schedules, and I help our general counsel and chief of staff track legislation, and I also cover a lot of committee meetings.
For information about the legislative internship, you can go online to www.cviog.uga.edu/GLIP. I'm Karla Francis for Lawmakers.
Well, country music star Alan Jackson, who sings of growing up way down yonder on the Chattahoochee, really did grow up in Georgia, and soon he may be remembered not only for a river that flows through Coweta County, but also for a section of interstate.
It simply will designate a certain section of Interstate 85 in Coweta County, from the county line down to Sharpsburg-McCullum Road, and will designate it as the Alan Jackson Highway in honor of our native son in Coweta County in Noonan, Alan Jackson. Alan has a long list of records that he has recorded. He's done a lot to promote the state of Georgia, and if you listen, you'll hear a lot of the things about Georgia, about Coweta County, and none of that the state of Georgia. So I would ask your favorable vote on this resolution so we can honor a native son.
Senate Resolution 569 passed without opposition, and the Alan Jackson Parkway legislation heads way down yonder to the House.
Coming up Monday on Lawmakers, Senator Dan Lee is expected to present Governor Perdue's child endangerment legislation to the Senate Judiciary Committee. We'll have that story and all the latest from under the Gold Dome. That's Monday at 7 p.m. Be sure to tune in to Georgia Week in Review this Sunday, February 8th at 1 p.m. for an in-depth interview with Janet Oliva. She's the new director of Georgia's Department of Family and Children's Services. That's Sunday at 1 p.m. Just another reminder for those of you with access to the internet. You can watch Lawmakers online. Just visit our website at www.gpb.org. Lawmakers is streamed live, then archived on our site every night that we're on the air. Now, stay tuned for Georgia Business Report. That program is next here on Georgia Public Broadcasting.
And that is our broadcast for this, the 13th day of the Georgia General Assembly. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gerald Bryant.
And I'm Wandy Lawson. For everyone here at Lawmakers, good night.